How big an impact is this having on services today?
Well, passengers leaving Folkestone have been subject to long delays this morning. They were as long as 4 hours, but Le Shuttle, that's Eurotunnel's Twitter account, have since tweeted that they've gone down. They said passenger service from the UK currently have a wait of 2 hours on site and a further 1 hour at check-in. We are working to reduce this delay. Now, this is essentially that they're still dealing with a huge backlog after the Eurotunnel had to close briefly overnight. Suffolk police have named 3 of 4 people who died in a crash on Friday night. 24-year-old Matthew Grant from Mildenhall and another 28-year-old man were killed in the collision between 2 cars at Worlington. And a school in Bletchley near Milton Keynes will welcome Samoa's players when they arrive for the Rugby World Cup in September. Pupils at Chestnuts Primary have been rehearsing throughout the summer term for their big day. It's one of 20 schools chosen to welcome the competing nations. Let's take a look at the weather. Here's Aidan.
The torrent in the capital, Tbilisi, killed at least 9 people, including a zookeeper, as Olivia Paterson reports.
An extraordinary sight in the centre of Tbilisi. This adult hippo, one of dozens of animals freed from the zoo by the flood. It was eventually caught and tranquilised, but some couldn't be recaptured and so have been killed.
The Care Quality Commission says those needing urgent help often get better assistance from police than medical staff, who lack compassion and don't always know how to deal with them. Olivia Paterson reports.
Throughout her teens, Charlotte Evans has struggled with anxiety and diagnosed depression. In her lowest moments, she's often called her local 24-hour crisis line. She says once in the night she rang more than 30 times, but no one picked up. So she went to A&E for help instead.
It must be a huge relief for her, her family and her friends to find out that she has in fact tested negative for Ebola. Now, the reason that doctors here were so worried in the first place is because she came here with Ebola-like symptoms. Those are typically things like aches and pains, vomiting and fever. She also tested negative for malaria, which carries similar symptoms. Now, when you learn that she had a history of travel to West Africa, where the disease has now killed thousands of people in just this epidemic alone, well, you can understand why doctors here were so concerned.
Doctors at Northampton General Hospital have dealt with almost every illness and injury, but the challenge of Ebola is one they're unlikely to have met before. In West Africa, the epidemic has killed more than 8,000 people, wiping out families and many medical staff. 20 years ago, you wouldn't have seen young ospreys diving here or anywhere in England. But now at Rutland Water, there are 8 breeding pairs and 15 fledgling chicks. Tim McCrill was a young volunteer when the reintroduction began. 102 chicks have hatched since.
We're seeing birds from previous years coming back, and in fact this year for the first time we've got a 4th generation Rutland osprey.
When they migrate, the chicks will spend 2 years in West Africa, growing up, getting bigger and stronger, and just generally trying to survive. It's amazing to think that after all that they'll fly back here to Rutland Water, which, having been born here, will always be their true home. I'd just like to leave you with a few thoughts. If the weather carries on as wonderful as it's been today, the people at Silverstone should get through this weekend 20,000 bottles of mineral water and 6,000 bottles of champagne. To me, that sounds like a great weekend.
Thank you very much, Liv, and I imagine you're not talking about the mineral water either there. I think it's probably the champagne that Liv is after. Quite right too. Well done.
We're back with ITV News Anglia at 6 o'clock. Until then, though, do have a lovely rest of your afternoon. Bye-bye.